Good evening, live from Hillbilly Days in downtown Pikeville. I'm Steve Hensley. It's a beautiful evening here. It's cooled off just a bit from earlier as the clouds have rolled in, but the rain is holding off for now. And as is the tradition each year, folks gather around stages across the downtown area, especially during the evening during Hillbilly Days, to listen to local musicians. WYMT's Jordan Mullen spoke to some of the musicians about what this festival means to them.
When we think of hillbillies, we think of bluegrass.
I'm just happy to be able to do what I love, and this is what I love. I like country music, I like rock and roll, but bluegrass music is what I love.
But some of the music at Hillbilly Days is not so traditional.
You have country music, rock music, Americana. I saw a man playing bagpipes last night. You know, you see a little bit of everything down here now.
But they all have a common goal: bring folks to their feet.
To know that I've made their day by playing music, they're dancing, they're having a good time. Yeah. We're bringing entertainment here for the festival. It's just a great feeling.
And carrying on a nearly 50-year tradition.
It's a tradition. Every year it's the same thing, but it never gets old. Hillbilly Days never gets old.
Picking, fiddling, and strumming for a cause.
To be able to come out here, play some music, have some fun on a beautiful day in our hometown, and help support a great cause. It makes it a pretty perfect weekend.
In Pikeville, Jordan Mullins, WYMT Mountain News.
Local musician Chris Preston added that it is also great to support her fellow musicians, and it's always great seeing folks smiling or even dancing a little near one of the stages.
And we continue to watch the sunny afternoon. Now, we do have a few clouds starting to push into the region this evening, but so far so good when it comes to rain, at least in the Pikeville area. Some other spots of the mountains are seeing the showers already moving in. A look at Pinpoint Doppler shows you the exact places that we're dealing with that, especially as we head on to the west. Parts of Wayne County, Pulaski County, even into parts of Rockcastle County seeing a few showers. Zooming in on those locations, areas south of Monticello, east of Powersburg, and right along 27 south of Somerset, seeing the heaviest rain at this point. And again, as you head along the Mountain Parkway there into parts of Powell County and back into Clark County over towards central Kentucky, everything here is moving off to the north and east, or really more to the north than east. But you notice where it's raining, it's much cooler. Temperatures in the low to even middle 60s compared to the low to upper 70s in many parts of the region. We've cooled down a little bit in Pikeville. We were in the low 80s earlier on today, falling into the 60s for the next little bit. Through the next 6 hours, we go from those temperatures in the upper 70s to near 80 down into the 60s overnight. It's going to be a mild overnight for us as we continue to watch the showers roll toward the mountains. I'll have more details on and what that means for day 3 of Hillbilly Days and the potential for rain into the weekend in a few minutes. Olivia, or Steve, actually, we're going to head over back to Steve.
All right, thank you very much, Evan. It's certainly a very nice evening here right now. Hopefully that rain holds off. One of the big events coming up tonight here at the festival is micro wrestling, the first time it's ever been to the Appalachian Wireless Arena. That comes up at 7 o'clock. Of course, if it's raining, it won't matter because you're inside the arena, but a good evening to get out here and enjoy the festivities. We'll have more from here coming up throughout the evening, but for now, let's send it back to the studio and Olivia Calfee.
All right, thank you, Steve. Y'all go and enjoy your night. But first, we have a developing story out of Leslie County. Officials with the Leslie County Sheriff's Office confirmed that a Leslie County school bus was involved in a 2-car crash earlier this afternoon. Take a look at this viewer-submitted photo. The crash happened at approximately 3:30 at the three-way stop near Highway 118 and the BP gas station in Hayden. Officers say there were at least 6 folks on the bus at the time of the crash, and everyone was checked out by EMS on the scene. Officials with dispatch told WYMT that the driver of the other vehicle was taken by a private car to Mary Breckinridge Hospital. Both the Leslie County Sheriff's Department and Kentucky State Police responded to the crash. We are learning new information about the motives of the shooter in last week's Louisville mass shooting. Sources say the shooter left 2 notes revealing parts of his motivation for the attack. The notes reportedly say that he wanted to show how easy it is for a mentally ill person to buy a gun. The gunman's family says he struggled with depression, but that they did not see signs he was capable of deadly violence. They say his brain will be examined for signs of CTE. The Supreme Court has a self-imposed deadline of midnight tonight to decide the fate of an abortion pill. Its first major questions on the abortion issue since overturning Roe v. Wade last year. Willie James Inman has more details from the Supreme Court.
A handful of anti-abortion demonstrators held up signs outside the Supreme Court as the justices consider whether to keep a commonly used abortion pill available nationwide.
We're here because we care about the outcome of this decision.
Earlier this month, Judge Matthew Kaczmarek, a Trump appointee, blocked the FDA's approval of mifepristone, pulling one of 2 drugs used in medication abortions from the market. An appeals court later voted the FDA's approval of the pill should stand, but imposed tighter rules on how the drug is prescribed and dispensed. The White House says it is prepared to continue to fight for abortion rights no matter how the justices rule. Democrats are also waging a battle in Congress, trying to make access to abortion the law of the land, but they've made little headway.
We are in control, quote unquote, of the Senate by 2 votes on a good day, where the Republicans control the House of Representatives. The notion of a legislative fix doesn't reflect the political reality of the Congress that we're facing.
Republican-controlled houses passed national abortion bans in 2013, 2015, and 2017.
The House will be in order,
but say they're not trying to do so again this year.
It works through committee. The Supreme Court has made that decision. It goes to the states. The states will take up that issue.
The issue is already front and center for many headed into the 2024 campaign. Willie James Inman, CBS News, the Supreme Court.
Florida is the most recent state to pass new abortion laws. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, a potential GOP candidate for president, signed a 6-week abortion ban into law last week. The man accused of leaking classified Pentagon documents is set to appear in court for a detention hearing next week. 21-year-old Jack Teixeira is accused of posting the documents on the social media site Discord. The detention hearing was originally scheduled for earlier this week, but was postponed at last minute. It will now take place on April 27th in Massachusetts. Teixeira has not yet entered a formal plea. Students across Florida protested Republican Governor Ron DeSantis' education policies they say target minority programs. CBS's Christian Benavides reports from Riviera Beach, Florida.
High school students in Fort Myers walked out of class Friday as part of protests against the bill to overhaul higher education in Florida. College students in Orlando also took part.
There is a right and there is a wrong, and right now the state of Florida is wrong.
Republican Governor Ron DeSantis' proposal includes eliminating diversity programs, banning gender studies majors, and weakening tenure protection for professors.
They're not going to be able to learn history. Being able to learn history is so important so that we don't repeat it.
But DeSantis isn't backing down. He says diversity, equity, and inclusion is really about imposing an ideological agenda on students.
DEI more appropriately stands for discrimination, exclusion, and indoctrination, and that has no place in our public institutions.
DeSantis has positioned himself as a culture warrior for his Republican base, attacking what he calls woke culture as he gears up for a likely presidential bid.
The woke represents a war on truth, and because it's a war on truth, we must engage in a war on woke.
Earlier this month, a Florida board voted to expand the DeSantis-backed Parental Rights in Education Act that had been up to grade 3 through high school. Known by critics as the Don't Say Gay law, the measure bans lessons on sexual orientation and gender identity. Christian Benavides, CBS News, Riviera Beach, Florida.
Organizers of the walkout say they plan to hold bi-weekly town halls until the 2024 presidential election. We are just getting some information about a crash on Kentucky 114 near the Floyd County and Magoffin County line. Prestonsburg Police Department officials posted to Facebook that at least one person was injured in the crash. Officers are urging folks in the area to use caution as first responders are working to clear the scene. We'll share more information as it becomes available.